City of Grand Haven Special City Council meeting of May 2nd, 2022 is hereby called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember McLaughlin.
Here.
Councilmember Fritz.
Here.
Councilmember Lowe.
Here.
Councilmember Cummins.
Here.
Mayor McNally.
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. I think at this point we need a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
And second it.
Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fritz.
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Cummins.
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Your agenda is approved.
All right, at this point, I'm inviting up I assume Commander Michael Smith, U.S. Coast Guard retired, Executive Director of the Coast Guard Festival Committee, for presentation on Coast Guard Festival, Inc. 2022. Hi, Mike, how are you?
Hello, I'm pleased to be here. This is the earliest we've ever presented. So stand by for a couple changes maybe down the road, but here we go.
Okay.
I don't need to verbalize everything that you have in your package. Some of the things have been standard for years, and we partner with other organizations like the Lighthouse Quilt Guild and the Tri-Cities Family YMCA. We've asked for permission. Highlighted in red are the differences for this year than before, and we've asked for permission to place a 10 by 10 tent on top of the 12 by 12 rubber mat on the Brass River to be exclusively used for sponsors and to preserve, of course, the area under which we have the very lightweight tent. We did ask permission to include a beverage area on all nights of the waterfront entertainment. The beverage area would include beer, wine, water, and soda. And then we're requesting suspension of the social district during festival dates July 29th through August 6th. That was done so people don't confuse what the Festival Family Affordable Fund is offering and everything else on the street. We don't want people to start thinking that that extends to the carnival area and there's not that much space anymore between what we're doing on the street and what we're doing on Main Street. So those are differences for this year. I'll keep going until I'm stopped.
Wait. Let's stop for a second
Okay.
and ask, do you guys want to ask questions as we go along? It seems like that would be simpler.
Easier. Yeah.
Yep. Everybody okay with that? All right, Kevin, go ahead.
How is that ever going to be, patrolled? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, people are used to. I mean, Jeremy's here. I mean, the social district is something that everybody is now used to, and now you're going to say the busiest week of the year, we're going to just say, no, you can't have it. I don't know how it's going to be patrolled.
I think that's a great question.
I guess I could add something to that, which is the only way you get into the social district is one of the proprietors of business downtown gives you a specific cup. So if the word went out to the proprietors of those businesses that social district is suspended for these days, I think that would not be that difficult to enforce. I think there's a separate question of whether we want to do it or not. Okay, looks like Sharon.
Hi, Sharon Beam, 214 Washington. I'm the chair of the Coast Guard Festival, and I'm also a member of the DDA board. Jeremy and I actually have had this discussion. When the DDA board approved the looking into the social district, part of the agreement with the social district, which is also what City Council, when they approved it, is that any event can request that the suspension of the social district during that time. And I wanted to make sure it was specifically allowed to happen. Basically, all it does is Jeremy sends it out to the establishments, like the mayor said, that there's no cup sales during this time period. Therefore, there's no confusion. If somebody's walking around and they have a cup, they didn't buy that cup legally. I mean, I can't imagine 100 to 300,000 people in downtown Grand Haven. I'm a merchant downtown. There is no way public safety is going to be able to control that number of people during the social district. To be perfectly honest with you, and I haven't talked to my friends who are in the restaurant business, I don't even know how they could keep up with selling the social district cups during that time, with the lack of employees, and also having their outdoor dining and their indoor dining. So, but the mayor is correct. It's told, Jeremy shuts it down along with public safety, and it's shut down during that time.
Has this been, Jeremy, has this been discussed with all the restaurants?
Not yet, no. We're gonna discuss it at the board, at our next board meeting, but
It's just
has
this
not
week, I
been.
think.
And this is the first request, so.
Okay.
Told them it could or couldn't happen.
Well, I just remember when the social district was set up, that that whole area was supposed to be part of the social district. And city council said, no, it has to stop. It has to stop before that. Now we're saying that we can allow, beer to be sold during that week. I'm just kind of all over the
Are
place.
you talking about the theater?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was supposed to be included in the social district, if I'm right, Mike.
Well, they
I think
asked
you
for
But that's in the,
They did
that's in the
ask for
social
it.
district, but this is during their entertainment only. They're not gonna be selling it all day and all night like they do for the social district.
No, I understand.
It's only gonna be for the entertainment part.
Just the message. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine.
Good to know, but interestingly enough, the carnival was moved off the main street because people would gather around there, and now we have a social district. So, it's gonna be interesting.
Okay.
But I think people will be respectful if the store owners, and certainly the carnival runners, will be more interested in knowing the rules.
Thank you.
I do
Just to
know.
be clear, so the beverages are for use in the stadium area only and restricted to that area, is that correct?
What we're requesting, stadium only.
Right,
During
Only
concert- during
during-
evening
Right.
concerts, right?
Only during the concerts and not after the concerts, it's during the concerts.
got it.
And I'm gonna ask a general question, because I think that I've been to events down there, non-Coast Guard Festival events, where concerts have had permission to sell beer and wine. And-
Correct.
Okay, it would be a similar activity,
It would.
okay. Because I think the heck was the,
I know
it
what
was
you're thinking
Pure
about.
Prairie League, I
Yeah.
think. I was down there and.
Yes, it
and,
was.
Right, and they had beer and wine. So some of the summer concerts already serve beer and wine and have a controlled environment in which to do that.
Right, and banded and whatever. And,
They did do it last year
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, last year we did a soft opening on
Yes.
certain nights to see how it worked.
Okay,
I do know, as a fact, is that the bars and restaurants during Coast Guard are over flooded. I mean, they can't keep up with all the people they have there as it is already. And you're right, trying to control with them out there, and they're not gonna be able to do it. They're having a hard time getting workers as it is. Don was just here telling us how much trouble he's having getting workers, down at Copper Post, so, yeah.
And our audience, is not coming for the beer. They're coming to relive the 70s.
such that they
Maybe other
were-
things, but not beer.
Okay,
All right.
Very good.
We have permission, we're asking permission to use the south end of the municipal marina lot again. We've done that before. Same. Mulligan's Hollow schedule of events is there. Kids' Day, Senior Day, large tent, softball, permission to use the pickle courts, all very popular things. Yes.
I had a question on this, which was, there's something about drop-off for day camp kids being restricted. So on the days that you're running the kids events, for instance, or even the seniors events, are the day camp, is the day camp still running? And maybe they participate in the kids events, but what do they do during the senior day?
That's a good question, but they're running during senior day,
Okay,
but they seek other, you know, a
And-
tour
and
down by the waterfront.
have we restricted their drop-off? It sounds like you don't want a lot of traffic coming in, dropping off the day camp kids. How has that worked in the past?
We have restricted the use of the entrances to the Mulligan's Hollow a bit, so their timing is going to be earlier, but, I mean, it hasn't been a problem before.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And again, we'll work with the Y.
Yep,
You know.
I'm sure you would. Okay, thanks, Mike.
Kids' Day layout, municipal marina slips, just a reminder that we lost two that the city took back, so that was income. Skirbeck Carnival, we're gonna meet with Skirbeck's here on site over Memorial Weekend. They're in Sparta in 2 weeks, and then they'll be at the Fruitport Days. And they wanna look at the property now where we are going to be, which is Covenant Life parking lot, and see what kind of rides, how the layout will be. We wanna keep, again, a family focus with a separation of kids' rides rather than mixed in with big rides. But we have to see the reality of that once they see the size lot and walk through it.
So is the entire carnival going to be in Covenant Life lot
No, Covenant Life plus.
plus Harborfront?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Harbor Island, same request. That's where our carnival workers and our rides initially arrived to. So we're going to ask that the permission to use them again, same space. The workers stay there.
And you guys move porta potties in there for them, but I saw something that said we shut down the public restroom. Has that always been done? Do we know?
Yes,
Has
Yes.
been.
yes,
Okay, and it needs to be. Okay,
we've always done that.
Permission to the lighthouse kiosk placement. Those are through town so people know what's going on. The Food Harbor Drive food vendor map is there. We're asking for the same amount of space, and food vendors these days are a challenge as well, getting the right ones and getting them in there, but so far so good, we're working on it. Vendor sponsor booths along the boardwalk again, off into nearby the waterfront stadium. That request is very similar. The new part is a Riverview deck area used for broadcasting live. So we're going to see how that goes. Kids Parade, we'll see how we do again. That is starting up again, and a lot of interest in that. Same layout, it's a small parade. Grand Parade, everything that you've seen before, probably a little less. I don't believe we'll see a 2.5-hour parade anymore, but I think a 2-hour parade was right on target, and we're going through now and getting the applications ready to see what we will allow in the parade and sort of who wants to be in the parade. And we specifically addressed some policy issues and changes this year to ensure that the parade isn't a forum for any one particular view or opinion, that we're very succinct about what we let in to honor the men and women of the Coast Guard. The Grand Parade route, same. Cardboard boat race down at the Waterfront Stadium, big draw, cruising car show on Sunday, big draw, street dance, always a big draw and fun. Walk of Coast Guard history. It rained last year, but we hope again to have it in front of City Hall. There will be 2 points of Coast Guard history. Memorial service in Escanaba Park. Always, there's a reception before, but always the ceremony is from 4 to 5. Fireworks, of course, on Saturday night, another spectacular show. At the end of the show, Last year, if you noted, there was some lag time between the end of the live show and the fireworks, way too long. So we're starting a little bit later on Saturday and squeezing it, so maybe there'll be 15 minutes between the end of the show and then the fireworks. And last year there was precipitation, so we had to hurry that along anyway. Battle of the Water Ball Champions, we're hoping to bring that back this year with our public safety officers in some neighboring cities. And that's just it's a lot of fun, but it's on the street here between 3rd and 4th, right by the church on the
Can I
corner.
ask a question about that? Because I don't know about water ball. Is it fire hoses?
There are fire hoses, and there's a cable with a ball.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And then it's a water pressure and,
Oh, it's a fun event.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
fun to
you
watch
go
them
there if
guys.
you want to get wet.
all right.
Craft Fair, Central Park, we welcome them back, and that should be just fine this year. Flea Market on 5th, on 7th rather. A great event. They bring some really cool finds. I enjoy seeing them. The request for everything else, really signage, parking is very familiar. So there's no really weird ones there. Except for the carnival, the road closed to through traffic. Public safety right now hasn't agreed that that's in the best interest of all the traffickers, but we're talking to them because obviously our number one concern is safety. And maybe it's just during operations during the carnival time that it might be closed. So there could be changes to that, but right now we're still talking.
Which roads would be closed?
Columbus.
And the reason for Columbus being closed?
Because you got the two carnivals, one on
Buzz-
each side, and people walking
Oh,
back
they're
and
in
forth. It's a
opposite-
safety,
In one
it's a
parking lot
safety
of the
thing.
Harborfront,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there is foot traffic there, and
Okay.
is public, where is,
What, Chief's back there.
yeah. Well, we're still in discussion, so
Okay.
we wouldn't never do it. Obviously, they would only approve it if it's going to be safe, because they're going to be there for it, so. Move the handicap parking spots to the northeast side. That will help us sort of with staging some of the other stuff for the stadium. Same signage, emergency routes, parade route, Coast Guard Memorial, Kids Day, no parking, special requests, flexibility for the waterfront, musical fountains start each night because of the way the acts are. We're not sure. It has worked out fine in the past. Place porta-johns on city properties during 10 days of the festival. Obviously, we need more spots to go, and the city supports that. Permit to place temporary banners. We've worked through that with the city. Temporary banners downtown. City Hall provides an additional trash truck, which they do on Sunday morning. That's how we stay so clean. Request permission to use Chinook Pier parking lot. We have worked out a deal with the city to pay to do that, and we have agreed to pay the city $6,500 to use that space, more than they would have if they used just vendors before. And to that note, we're sort of going to request when we get to the end that we ask for a bundle for Waterfront Stadium. We pay for fencing, we pay for seats, we pay for, now there's a room available in the Old Depot, and we pay every night. We're going to ask if we can't just group all that into one sum rather than get nickel and dime, since everything is in the stadium. I believe somebody up there suggested that we do that, so we're going to go back and say, how can you help us? We're helping you with the $6,500 in the Chinook Pier, and it's a win-win. And so that's the way we've approached it, and that's the way the city has approached it, so we'll see where we go. Rather than ask to have all the fees waived on every single thing, we'd rather look at it in its totality. And that's what we were talking about, Chinook Pier. And of course, the ability to tell our story as Coast Guard City USA, the one and only. No surprises. Concerns, of course. This year, we're approaching it very differently. Our income sources are getting tighter, just much like yours, and our expenses are getting greater and not in our control. So we're getting very experimental this year with where we are and how we're doing it. But, you know, I think, again, working with the city on a win-win, it'll be fine.
Okay. You want to start, Ryan?
Well, just, so, thank you, Mr. Smith. Have you seen sorry, the staff, you touched on some of them, the staff recommendations in our work session packet? So you're aware of the things they have concerns on, and are you and our staff, Pat, are you guys still working these out? And this is kind of more of a update on where you're at, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, as recently as Friday, we were bartering for the Chinook Pier so that we could actually gain more income, but also give more back to the city. And we agreed, and that seems to be working. So that was a late minute change. And we'll work with public safety to make sure that what we're talking about, what they want, is what will work. And certainly they have the last say, so, but maybe we could compromise and say, you don't have to close Columbus the whole time, maybe just during certain hours.
Okay.
Or not, depending on what they will approve.
Okay. Well, then, you know, if you guys are still discussing these things and working these things out, I don't see, for myself, any need to make too many comments then at this point. I trust our staff and your team to continue to discuss these things and come to an agreement, and for things that you can, I'm sure we'll hear back from you, right? So.
Well, thank you, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If, Pat, are we still working through these issues?
Yeah,
or-
there's still some things that are up in the air. The $6,500 does not come to the city. We're giving that to the merchants that are there all summer. We asked if they wanted to leave during that week, and they said, no, thank you, we would like to stay there. And so we thought, well, if they were going to make a payment to the Coast Guard Festival to be there, and then Ashley and, Ashley and Annie worked it out and came up with that number that they would then each get $1,000 and their August rent paid by leaving for that 1 week, which is likely going to be their biggest week. So that's not money that's going to come to the city. That's going to those 5 vendors that you've already approved to be down there. We've already approved to be there all summer long.
And the vendors have agreed? The vendors have agreed?
Yeah, Ashley talked to them. I don't know if she's gotten in touch with each and every one of them, but she talked to a couple of them and said, how does this sound? And they thought that would sound okay. So it does still remain in discussion very much. This was, like Mike said, it was late last week. They were trying to get this together to come up with a way, because we just wanted to make everybody happy. You know, the vendors wanted to stay there, the Coast Guard wanted to use the space. So we can't do both.
These are the the trolley vendors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about this before I raised this issue, when we asked about whether or not we should rent out the Chinook Pier, you know, and you said that wasn't going to be an issue and we could work it out, but now it looks like we're giving up rent to get them out for
I
that
think
week.
He's working it out.
We're not giving up rent.
We've never gotten rent.
Coast Guard's paying them
Yeah.
for the rent for that month.
Well, is he, because he wants a bundled deal,
Yeah,
Two.
what they're doing.
right? Okay.
You'll win and we will win in the end.
It'll all come together.
It always does. And,
The-
when we talked about before, at the time, when we were looking at the fixed location vendor to allow it there,
Right.
the issue came up that Shile Lyons had already requested her 2 maker fairs there. So we said, okay, we'll have to work that out. That might be a blackout period, because Shile had asked for it before that. At that point, we hadn't heard anything from Coast Guard about wanting to use the parking lot. So we told the vendors the rest of the summer you'd be there. Coast Guard subsequently sent us an email, said, well, we'd like to use that area. And we said, well, let's talk to the vendors, let's talk to you guys, and see if we can come up with a balance that seems to work for everybody. And I think we've done that. And
Okay.
Ashley did a good job working with Annie and still leaving some area, well, I can go back. You can see the area in the blue there. We wanted to keep something for public parking. You know, people need somewhere to park. So the compromise was, well, the charter fishermen will be in that red area. The Coast Guard Festival can make use of that green area. I believe they've got some guests that are in the marina that need somewhere to park their cars and other things. And then the blue area would remain public parking. And then those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those will be Coast Guard vendors, not the 5 vendors that we have there. And then they'll use that green space for some giveaways or convenience things, some tent setup, nothing heavy. You're not gonna park trucks on there or anything.
So would,
Okay.
Pat, would this eliminate the, I'm gonna call it the conflict between seasonal marina slip holders and, transient Coast Guard, slip holders? Because one of the things in the staff recommendation was, that they didn't recommend dedicated marina parking for the Coast Guard Festival boats. And I think, it sounds like that might also eliminate that issue, or not?
Well, there could be some,
I think
Roll
Shar
back on that,
Shar might
Char's
have
here,
some details. Sorry, Mike.
So really timing of everything with this presentation and the commitment we make to you to get our data in early, those details changed since your memo and this presentation was given. So when it comes back for a vote, all of those things will be worked out, so there'll be no question. All of the things that are in discussion at this moment will be determined to come back for your actual
Okay.
vote.
Okay, so I just have one other comment. Mike, I think it was a great presentation. I think it's going to be difficult if we're using the $6,500 for rent to offset expected rent from, from other vendors. But I believe you could bundle the rest of this stuff. I think otherwise it'll be very messy for us to see what we're
agree.
covering.
I-
So
I
maybe
agree.
just leave that $6,500 out of the other bundle that you come back to us with.
I agree, that's why,
Does that
sort
make
of why,
sense?
the way we approached it.
Okay,
So, good for you for asking, and yeah, that will be out here, the other will be.
gotcha. Great. Thanks.
Okay, I only had one other concern, which was stakes driven into the ground for the hot air balloon. Can we get around that somehow? Because it sounds like is the hot air balloon coming back?
The hot air balloon is coming back.
Okay, Mike, what do you got?
This is Mike Court, a member of the festival committee, and
Mike
the
Court.
Kids Day Chair.
Okay, state chair.
Lucky you.
Lucky me. No, yes, we're expecting right now, I mean, everything's still in fluctuation as far as who's coming, who's not coming. But yes, we're expecting the hot air balloon to come back. Last year, the hot air balloon, the up and down balloon, did not have any stakes in the ground.
Okay,
We did have a truck on the grass.
that's probably less offensive, I think.
It's probably less offensive.
And you just use it as a
didn't
tie
cause-
down?
And they tie to that truck, and then there's 2 other permanent structures that they tied to. That one was over by the chairlift, rope tow.
Right, the ropes.
And one was by the kid rope tow side of the thing. So,
I don't know about the possibility of it, but I know that the Coast Guard has a buoy yard with big concrete sinkers.
well, and that was a question
and
that
that might be a
we'll be
possibility.
working through. But I have to question whether or not putting a big concrete sinker on the grass
Yeah.
versus putting a truck on the grass for the time being while the balloon's there. I don't see the truck causing damage.
I agree.
Probably not as much damage as a big concrete sinker,
Sitting on the grass for several days.
Consideration even to like the barriers that
It,
cover the city vending area and stuff for something heavy, but,
it sounds like you guys are aware of the problem
Yes,
and will take
and we're
care of it.
working on it.
Okay, cool.
and anything else that was staked, we had a few small things that were staked down, tent stakes, stuff like that. We'll make sure that they go on water barrels or something to cover that.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody got anything else?
Recommendation for children to hold them.
Yeah.
Didn't go anywhere, but it might.
And maybe a little Cairn Terrier to throw in the box.
Right,
Yeah.
they could be on their way to Kansas.
Yes. Okay, anybody got anything else?
I just want to say thank you for coming really early and just letting us know what's ahead coming up.
Char's fault.
Well, no, we've asked to have it before, because usually it's like the last minute, and really rush through, and don't really have a whole lot, trying to get questions answered and stuff on that order, so I really appreciate you coming here early. I understand how it all works. I've gone through 18 of these now with you.
Yes, you have.
And I tell you, this is really early, and you're working through all of it. By the time you come to us, all these little questions and things that you have here that might not be it will be all smoothed out and handled, so I trust you'll do fine with it, so.
Thank you.
Thank you again for all your hard work in bringing the festival to here to Grand Haven, because it is a big, big thing for Grand Haven.
Thank you, and I
Especially
appreciate all
honoring-
your support.
Especially honoring the Coast Guard, seeing it's part of my family also, so,
Right.
yes,
Thank you, Mike.
thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
All right, I think we're good. I'm going to adjourn the special work session. And I don't need a motion for that, okay. And then I think we're going to swing right into, we gotta find the right agenda, there we go. All right. The City of Grand Haven regular city council meeting of May 2nd, 2022 is hereby called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Lowe,
Here.
Councilmember Cummins,
Here?
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Here.
Councilmember Fritz,
Here.
Mayor McNally.
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right. The invocation tonight is to be delivered by Pastor Ron Heiler of Church of the Nazarene, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you all would please rise, join us for the invocation and for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mayor, council members, and everyone, thank you for having me tonight. Let's pray. Father God, we thank you that you hear us. We thank you for your goodness and your kindness towards us. We thank you for your constant presence. Lord, we thank you for each of these council members. We pray for them and their families, that you would bless them. We thank you for their service, as well as all those who serve our community in various capacities. May you protect and use them for the greater good of our community. Lord, as this council is gathered together tonight to do business on behalf of our fair city, I pray that you would be their helper. Help them, O God, to set aside their pride that so easily tries to control each one of us into making decisions based on our own desires. Help them, O Lord, to put on a spirit of humility, to carry a sense of duty to serve this community. Help them to listen and to understand complex issues in order to make decisions, wise decisions, that would be in the best interest of our people. And help us all, Lord, to work together with love and kindness and compassion towards one another. I pray this in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Right, we're going to shift our order of events this evening. We're going to swing directly into a public hearing on the budget. And we're doing this at the beginning of the meeting. So if you've come today to comment on the budget, this will be an opportunity for you to make budget-related comments to council. If you've come to speak on anything else, the general call to the audience will follow. We're going to open a public hearing on the budget, in the budget process, and we are going to listen to anyone who's come to speak tonight about the budget. Then we'll close that public hearing, and then we will swing into what's known as the general call to the audience, which is audience members who'd like to come up and address any other issues. So with that said, I would entertain a motion to open a public hearing regarding proposed budget, millage rates, tax administration fee schedules, capital improvement plans for the City of Grand Haven fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there support?
Second?
Motion by McLaughlin, second by Lowe. Any discussion?
This is just a motion
It's
to
just to open the
it?
hearing, yep.
With all due respect, Mayor, I think you have the authority to just open it, but we can
Well,
vote
then-
on it if you'd like.
No. It's true, then we'll take the motion off the table, if that's, and I will open the public hearing regarding the budget. Is there anyone who's come to speak about Grand Haven's budget process, or the 2022 budget?
Hello, Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I'd like to just make one comment. I noticed under the capital plans, there was, I think it was $1.765 million over the next 6 or 7 years that went to the airport. And my ask to council is to look at the implications of continuing to support the airport and the number of years that would lock us into the airport. I really think that the 150 or 180 acres down there should be returned to the tax roll. It would be an excellent, industry has told us they would like it. We've heard that, that we need affordable housing. I think a planned development down there, it would be the best thing in the future, and not to keep extending the airport for decades and decades in the future. We have a fantastic airport right here in Norton Shores, the Muskegon County Airport. It has over 800 acres. Plenty of room for all the private hangars that anybody would want. So I would really like to think about that in greater detail, and not just keep committing to getting grants and having to depreciate off grants over decades and decades and decades. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else to speak on the budget? Pat, we don't have a planned presentation because we went through the last special work session.
Correct, and we just like to take this opportunity to say this is a required hearing for truth and taxation, and part of the process each year. It's a formality to hold the public hearing and make sure we've given the public opportunity to comment on the budget.
Okay. And do I need a motion to close the public hearing?
Well, I just have a question. Is this also an opportunity for council to clarify
No, this is just this is a
or
public
ask
hearing.
additional comments, or are we not
This
to
is
speak
just a
during the
public
public?
hearing.
Well,
Any time, if you'd like to do that during council comments tonight and listen
Right.
out, we can talk about it then.
But I can't, not now, while anyone's here.
No.
And right now is the time for the public to come up and make
The
comments.
public hearing's all it is.
If the mayor wanted to, after the public hearing, to then entertain some discussion, that would be appropriate.
I think that would. Go
I
ahead.
was just confused because when I attend public hearings in the planning commission, there is some discussion that goes on with the planning commission as well during those.
That's
So it's just a,
As long as we can,
I'm
discussion
happy to entertain just general discussion by council following the public hearing. Would that be sufficient?
that'd be fine.
Okay,
You have to close it first.
I'm going to close the public hearing. Now, I would like to entertain discussion by council regarding the budget. And Councilmember Lowe, have you got comments you'd like to make?
Right, I'm just looking at the version again that is in our packet this evening, Pat. And have there been any changes made on the review conducted 2 weeks ago now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
We did take the paid parking out. I could go through what those changes were if you like.
If you could just summarize some of those, I just want to see if some of the comments by council, which ones were,
Well, we added professional
Addressed.
development back into some of the budgets, as was discussed. We added the $25,000 is a placeholder for, possibly for an energy plan that was requested in the Brownfield Fund. You know, the big one was taking out the paid parking so that your revenues went down about $300,000. Showing now a deficit in the general fund for this next year of just under $300,000.
Thank you.
I don't know, Emily, if you had any other, was that pretty much all of it?
And the other question I have we adjusted any fees, Emily? The fee schedule law hasn't been changed since then, correct? Okay.
Correct.
And then just in terms of the assumptions, sorry, I'm going to go back. You had the 3.3, but percent, or I'm sorry, 3.5% increase in compensation, and the corresponding increase in the pension as a result of that has been factored into the budget, correct?
Yes, 3.3%.
Okay, but there's no additional cost relative to our plans to close the pension to new hires factored into the budget, correct?
Not currently been applied, no.
Okay.
You got
Just
more,
going down-
Karen? Yeah, I'm just gonna
Go ahead.
make sure Karen's, are you set? Ryan, go ahead.
Just going down the line here. Yeah, I raised this with, council last time, and although I do have, well, a few comments and questions, I guess. The general fund loss for this current fiscal year, is that, nothing's been changed in the amended, or I'm sorry, in the projected budget for this year? Was anything changed in there? Maybe I just don't.
Come again, then?
The projected budget for the remainder of this year, was anything changed in those, on that side of things?
Our projected actuals, our actual finish for this fiscal year,
I don't
that
believe
didn't
since
change.
your work session, no.
Okay. So, I'll kind of, again, raise this to the council, and I raised it last time, although before I do, I do have concerns. I didn't realize this when we had our budget work session. I thought that our staff had taken our kind of policy path that we had set and our plans to work on closing our defined benefit plan to new hires, and that this budget had that in there. And that, some estimated numbers were assumed. That's a priority of ours, that we're planning for next year and what we plan to do next year in a budget, and that those numbers were in there. And I thought that staff were proposing paid parking as a revenue option, but we're asking council to direct some dollars to set a more sustainable funding path, because this year, our projected budget, our general fund is scheduled to have a loss of $838,000. So that's, and to make up for that loss, that comes directly from essentially our savings account, our general fund savings account. And then the council, this portion is not, staff brought us a proposal for some revenue, took out the paid parking revenue, and now we're projected to lose $280,000 from our savings account. It's not sustainable, and we need to provide one. On the one side, our staff, I don't know why our plans to hopefully close the DB plan to new hires so we can turn off the faucet, as you put, Pat. I think that's absolutely correct. I don't know why that. So we have a fuller picture of what we're actually facing as a loss next year. That's important, I think, for us to know. But then, I want to know when we're going to schedule and where we're going to have the discussion about what we're going to do about this. Because and this isn't, to the new council members here, last year when we were going to run another deficit, I sat here and said, I'm not going to continue to do this. That's not a sustainable path. If we're if we're spending down our savings account because we're actually leveraging those dollars and getting grants and getting a return on those investments, then there's, I think, a case to be made. And in some cases, we are doing that. But now we're to the point where we're just to pay for our day-to-day services and bills, you know, we're running some deficits down. So, and I have concerns with that. I'm hoping we can have some discussion or set something up soon to have some real hard discussions about that sustainable revenue source. Because I'm not going to be supportive of a budget that just shows more losses and more losses, because I just don't think that that's the right thing for us to continue to do. So,
yeah, I absolutely agree with Councilman. You know, we took out paid parking, and which is, you know, what council wanted, but at the end of the day, there was no new revenue brought in. It was just, well, we'll just, you know, keep taking down our fund balance, which makes absolutely no sense to me. There is ways that we can increase revenue in this city. You know, I know the downtown merchants are up in arms if we talk about downtown parking, but, you know, what about waterfront parking? From Chinook Pier all the way down to the city beach. There's well over 500 spaces there. Could be an awful lot of revenue coming into the city. And to just let that pass by, I think makes absolutely no sense to me at all. You know,
Kevin, can I just correct, because we were here when we discussed it. We didn't say no to paid parking. We said it didn't belong. It didn't belong in a solid budget when we had not yet approved and worked through all of the cost-benefit analysis. So we didn't want that to be used
downtown.
as a way to make, no, just generally. The second piece was that Councilmember Fritz actually was the one that suggested we do just what you said. If we looked at paid parking, we should look at beach parking, paid parking, and start there. And so that was, and I agreed with him, we didn't vote on anything other than, I think the statement that the city clerk made was that it was agreed that it was inappropriate at this point in time to put it in as a revenue item that this budget should count on when we had not even reached an agreement on it. That it was more of a potential ways to close the gap, so to speak. So I don't want you to have the impression that we said no to paid parking. We said, wait, that doesn't belong in this, you know, budget yet. Let's look at it, and let's look at beach parking first. So just to be clear.
But is there any reason why we can't look at beach parking now and study the remainder of it? I'm just lost with that.
No, there's no reason.
I mean, it could be a revenue source, and I don't know why we wouldn't be looking at it, that's all. I'm just throwing out ideas.
Yeah, I got you.
That's all I'm trying to do.
I honestly think, let me just ask, Mike, have you got anything on this?
I don't even want to discuss it right now, to be honest with you. We're going to have our time when the budget comes up, but the thing is, right now, is that we've been here 18 years. I've been here. We've had deficit budgets we've written before, and at the end of the year, we come up and we have a large surplus. We end up with like 32%. At one time, we up to 32% we had in there. And we're not doing justice for the people out there if we're taking that money and just trying to stack it away for a rainy day, because sometimes they're paying taxes here, and if we keep wanting to build that slush fund up more, it's not it. People want to see things done. They want to see the streets being paved. They want to see your infrastructure done in that. How many times have we actually gotten below, Pat? What's our lowest percentage we've had when it comes to at the end of the year? I know we've had deficit budgets. What happened was we write a deficit budget, but at the end of the year, it always comes in because a lot of those projects don't get done. We end up on the plus side. I've seen this many a times. I don't take it as being as drastic. Yes, when it comes to our pension fund, I understand there is a problem there. But when it comes to taxpayers' dollars, they want to see things done on the streets. They want to see what's done. They don't want to see us putting it in the bank.
But if we keep it up, Mike, we won't be able to do that. I mean, if we keep drawing, if we don't have enough money to run our operations, and we're constantly drawing down on our fund balance, it's gonna come to a point, Mike, that we can't do it. We won't support the Coast Guard Festival, we won't support the cemetery. There's $700,000 that we support. I mean, Pat put it right in his budget. So unless we, come up with some ideas that sustainable revenue that comes into the city, I think we're making a huge mistake. That's not, I don't think that's what the people of this city want.
I was just going to add one other thing. There was one other comment and feedback. We mentioned, Emily, that the fee schedule hasn't changed. When we did the review, we called out a couple things that need to be looked at, and I'm going to give this feedback. Pat, I gave it to you privately, but given where our pension costs are at, and I am a person who has done a lot of costing out of professional services in my lifetime. So I will tell you that the typical factor that you use is something like a 1.75 times the hourly rate or salary. But that's when a company is paying in 5% matching, not 40%. So our hourly rate, when we say we've evaluated the time and we've looked at the time for a inspection, and we're looking at all the paperwork follow-up that that person has to do. Everything is associated with a rental inspection. The amount of time should be multiplied by at least, in our case, at least 2 times the wage rate. And so when I say looking at those fee schedules and those that involve labor for Derek and for Jeff, I really hope we are looking and ensuring that we're getting at a minimum our cost out of those particular labor-based fees that we have in our fee schedule. The second thing is one of the major objections we heard from some of our residents is they were tired of paying through taxes. And I think, I asked you, and then I believe I sent you some comparative short-term rental application rates from other Western Michigan communities, and we are significantly lower. When I say significantly, we are significantly. We are recommending a rate of going from 40 to 45, and the rates that I've seen along the shore range from $350 to $1,300 per unit. So I ask again for us to look at the fee schedules. That's something that is within your control. Come back and look at some, benchmarking. Derek, you're here. I really look at, value your people's time, but know that the fully loaded cost of your people's time in setting up anything is probably far greater than what you're embedding in some of these fees. We need to get that back so that we can have services and deliver services. So that would be my request as you go back and you really sharpen the pencil a little bit, that you look at that revenue side and you look at what it's costing you, you and your people, Pat, on those fee schedules. Thank you, Your Honor.
Got anything further?
I mean, it's gonna come to a point, I think, that we're gonna have to put a moratorium on raises, hiring people, and on our capital equipment, until we understand where this budget is.
Can I just add something here? I had a discussion with Pat this morning where we talked about, you're all right, in my view, that we have budget work to do. And we should put all of these issues on the table in a work session. And we should prioritize and figure out, can 3 of us live with any of these? Okay, I mean, that really will, to me, come down to we won't agree on all of them. We may not agree on any of them, but if 3 of us agree on some of them, there may be a place to start. And it would be an opportunity to look at, and I guess I'm saying the airport could be on the table. I'm saying tax increases could be on the table. I'm saying marijuana revenue is probably on the table. I'm saying there's a wealth of issues here that we can, parking may be on the table. I don't know. Obviously, we don't all agree on some of them, but I think it's fair to say we need to look at what we can do. And I think we need, in the relatively near future, what did you call it, Pat? You had a name for it.
Just, like a revenue expenditure conference, where the 5 of you sit down with staff, we list everything out, and we prioritize, and we come up with a number of items we can live without, or cuts, and a number of items you want to implement, which would be revenue sources.
It sounds like that's pretty much what Ryan's talking about.
Probably a couple
Would you
hours
agree?
of time, so is that something, I mean, I can get that on the schedule, and we can do that, not necessarily in the context of this budget. Now, Ryan, I just want to speak to adding the closure of our DV plans. We know that's going to cost us a lot more in the short run. The ballpark figure we have is about $600,000 just to allow for the first year conversion, if we're going to allow the conversion from DB to DC.
But the first year okay, those are two different things. There's closing the plan to new hires, and then there's allowing the conversion for existing employees. So those are two different independent things that need to be costed out. And the assumptions behind the conversion depend on how many. Do you believe that everybody that's unvested is going to convert? Is that your assumption? And you'd have to calculate based on that. The closing to the new hires is a separate number. So let's just make sure when you come back with that information, Pat, can you give it to us in those two buckets? Let's not confuse the two.
Yes, the conversion is given to us by MERS. It's not based on any likelihoods. It's based on the number they give us. And so far, it looks like that's going to be about $600,000 that we will have to transfer in order to close the plan, so we have the money there for conversions that may or may not happen. So we have to ship that money over to MERS, probably take it out of your fund balance and general fund or elsewhere, other funds where we'd have to tap it. The annual required contribution, which is what you're talking about, which is the cost of closing the plan, that starts out relatively low and climbs over time. So that's going to start out probably less than $100,000 in year one. I don't remember exactly that number, but yes, we can bring those separate numbers, and we'll be very clear at the, but that's not going to make this look any better. It's, by closing
I
that
know
plan,
it's
we
not.
don't make
No,
it.
Well,
but
but
it's
I'd rather know
But it will make,
it's the start to
it will make
stopping
it look more accurate.
Yeah. We're going for certainty here, remember?
Oh, yeah, we're buying predictability.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
And as Kathy and I talked today, it's something to keep in mind. It's not like this money goes away. You're taking this money and putting it towards a debt that you have, and it's being invested by MERS at probably a higher rate than we would get. So, it's something that we do have to pay one way or the other. So it's just that accounting-wise, you've got to account for it next year, not over the next 20 years.
Right.
So, I'll get that conference set up. It's kind of tough because one of us is very, very busy on Fridays and has a hard time getting away. Another one has Fridays off. So we got to find an evening or a weekend where we can all sit down and spend a couple hours and work through this in the next 30 days, let's say.
okay, everybody aboard for that?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right. Emily, I think you're good, thank you. I'm gonna revert to the normal agenda here, and I'd like to look at approval of the consent and regular agendas for this evening. Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Cummins, second by McLaughlin. Discussion?
I think we were going to pull the armory off the approval for the outdoor dining permit.
Yeah, or at least request for a change over to cafe type seating.
Okay.
Just along the building, but
Okay.
we're not requesting a parking space.
Okay. So
Okay.
that one will come off, that particular item. And then
Right.
the sidewalk cafe is a different process that we do administratively.
So do we want to pull it out of the consent agenda, Pat? Or is it-
Well, just when Kelly reads that one, he can.
Oh,
just
it's in
not
the,
read it.
okay,
It's in new
yep, that's
business.
fine, it's in the new business, that's fine.
Yeah, that's our new business.
Yep. Okay. Any further discussion?
No.
Would you call the roll?
Councilmember Cummins,
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe,
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
The agenda is approved.
Okay, at this time, I'm putting out the general call to the audience. It's one of two opportunities in the meeting. Members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to call in may dial 616-935-3285. If it continues ringing, please remain on the line until your turn. We will take all callers. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm a new tenant downtown of Doug's. You've seen him before, I think. And I want to complain about parking. I'm not excited about the parking situation. Oh, thanks.
We need you, before you start,
Could you please state your name and your address?
It's Ashley Vanderplug. So my current address now is 100 Washington. I'm on the 3rd floor, 303. Okay, and well, I kind of thought that when I bought a parking pass from the city that I was going to be able to just park anywhere in the back, and then I found out that's not the case. I was pretty disappointed. And so I guess my options, it's pretty dang hectic. I have to worry about 3-hour parking, as well as all the other tenants that live in Doug's building, and I can't just like park, even though I pay for parking. And overnight I have to either be at Tippecanoe, you know, or like certain spots, I guess, by First Street. And it's just, it's kind of stressful, especially like just being a brand new tenant. So I'm new, but I feel like, oh, okay, this is definitely going to get worse, especially around Coast Guard. And so I wanted to bring my presence here and voice my concerns. And yeah, I'm not excited about the difficulties with parking that I'm probably going to have over the course of this year, especially as things get busier, and it'll be harder and harder to be able to even park overnight, or I'll have to move my car throughout the course of the day, or I'll have to, like, I don't know, if I work for myself, so my schedule's kind of sporadic, so sometimes, like today, it worked out. I didn't get a ticket while I was there during the day, and I went to work, and I came back, and I came here, and no ticket, but some days are just so random that, like, I feel like with the way things are, I'm gonna end up at the office being like, hey, can you waive my ticket? Like, just wanted to voice my concerns. I'm still pretty new, but not excited about difficulties parking and, like, not having a solid parking spot.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. Is there anyone else?
Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I just wanted to quickly talk about the stadium and liquor in the stadium. It doesn't seem like this, it seems like this is a new thing, but we don't have a new revenue source or sharing of ticket prices, et cetera, associated with it. And I'm not sure what's going on with Coast Guard. It seems like it's being maybe mixed in with some other things. And when I heard the 6,500, I was excited. I thought, okay, this is the revenue for the city. And then I found out it's just going to other vendors, you know, who had part of the parking lot. So I really think that there has to be some thought that goes into the cost of having the stadium plus alcohol versus just having the stadium. I don't think they should be the same, and it sounds like they are the same now. So I'm asking council to look into it, and if we're gonna have events with alcohol, make sure that there's some revenue associated with it. And I think it is a great idea of not having the first block of Washington serve alcohol and at the stadium. I'd like to commend you guys on that. That's good. Otherwise, I think we're gonna get into a big mess if we have alcohol on both sides of Harbor. People are just gonna be crossing with alcohol.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Could use a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Cummins. Kevin, was that you?
Yes.
Second by McLaughlin. Discussion?
See if Kelly wants to read it, maybe?
Yeah. Kelly, gonna read it for us?
Yes, your consent agenda tonight includes item A, to approve the city council minutes from the special meeting held on April 18th, 2022, and regular meeting minutes of April 25th, 2022, and corrected minutes of March 7th, 2022. To approve the bills memo in the amount of $393,166.85. Item C, to approve a resolution to declare May 15 through 21, 2022 as National Public Works Week in the city of Grand Haven. Item D, to approve the reoccurring special event application to hold the Rotary Divine event on Thursday, June 30th, 2022 from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. under the Chinook Pier canopy and parking lot, and allow amplified sound and consumption of alcohol. And the last item on your consent agenda, item E, is to approve a request to update the existing liquor license at Lucy's Market Incorporated, located at 133 Columbus Avenue, Grand Haven, Michigan, from a tavern liquor license to a Class C liquor license that would
Need to be allowed, that's a typo.
that would allow the inclusion of the sale of spirits at this location.
Okay. Any discussion?
Can I just ask one
Yeah.
question? Pat, in the Bill's memo, just because I'm new, I just want to understand it. The Brownfield Redevelopment Fund for $125,000, and then the Peerless Flats Eagle loan of $82,052. What is that all about?
Those are pass-through dollars that they're state loans or grants that we're passing through to the various projects.
Okay,
So it comes in and goes out. They're not getting any money from us. It's just we're the fiduciary
okay,
for those
thank you.
projects.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't need a lot of detail, but I couldn't quite figure out, I thought liquor licenses were relatively difficult to get and limited in number. So upgrading or changing the status of Lucy's, is that a big deal or an ordinary course of business? Any idea, Pat?
Well, I'm not sure how hard it is for the state, but the city council approving it is a formality that does need to happen, that they need to include in their application. So it does come through you, and they ask for that local approval. We've not had any reason to believe there's any problems at Lucy's. It is really mostly a deli with sandwiches, and people can get an adult beverage while they're there. So they just want to make sure there's somebody at the local level that's keeping an eye on that stuff and passing that intel along to the state. So if it gets approved, they assume that locally we're not having problems with them.
Okay, good. Anything else by anyone? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Cummins,
Yes.
and Mayor McNally.
Yes?
I believe I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's all right. We're moving on to new business.
Yep, and you have one item under new business, which is consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve request from Stan's Cafe, JW's Food and Spirits, Grand Armory Brewing, and Grand Haven Elks for expanded outdoor seating on public property from May 16 to October 31, 2022.
Okay, and I think we heard that the Grand Armory wants to change, so we're just going to delete them from this. Is that accurate? Okay. So the resolution,
So the resolution would read without that. Consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve request from Stan's Cafe, JW's Food and Spirits, and Grand Haven Elks for expanded outdoor seating on public property from May 16 to October 31, 2022.
So move.
Second?
Motion by McLaughlin, second by Cummins. Discussion?
Only that I know there was a gentleman here from the Elks last week, concerned about, the cost for barricades and renting the street space, which is in our fee schedule. And as we've discussed tonight, we have a budget. These are extra costs that the city has, and it's a choice that folks have if they to make the request to use these spaces. And I think we're being generous in allowing for them, but they're they do come at a cost too. So I just, I note that in our staff memo, it clearly states they'd be coordinating the billing with the finance department. So it's, they still have the choice, but there are real costs that we have for the barricades, and then, there's lost public space as well. So.
Got anything else on it? Does anyone have any interest in looking at reduced fees for nonprofits? The Elks is a service lodge. The potential exists for other service lodges to come out and ask for similar things. Just asking.
Not right now. Not for me anyway.
So moving forward with this as...
Sure, I would.
I would be open to that, but again,
At a
I
discount
think
rate,
on
maybe.
on an individual basis right now. Right now, we put in the fee schedule to rent out that public,
All right, so for this year, we're going to say everybody pays the same, and as we review our public, our fee schedule going forward, we consider, that's what you would support, Karen?
I would support that, because then we'd have more time to analyze the impact. And
Okay, and Mike, would you be all right with that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe,
yes,
Councilmember Cummins,
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Great. So that concludes your new business. You're on to unfinished business now. Item A on unfinished business is consideration by City Council of a final resolution to amend sections 40-411.02.d, section 40-411.02.g, section 40-411.03, and figure 4-14 of the Grand Haven zoning ordinance to amend the side yard setback and number of stories for non-residential uses in the NMU Neighborhood Mixed Use District.
Can I get
So
a
move.
motion to that effect?
So move.
Second?
Second?
Motion by McLaughlin, second by Cummins. Discussion?
I'm good with it.
Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lowe,
yes,
Councilmember Cummins,
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
and Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Great. The next item on unfinished business is item B on your agenda under unfinished business, and it's consideration by City Council of a final resolution to amend section 40-402.01, section 40-402.02, section 40-408.02.c, section 40-409.02, section 40-410.02, section 40-411.02.c, section 40-411.02.e, section 40-412.02, figures 4-19, 4-10, 4-11, 4-13, 4-15A, and 4-16 of the Grand Haven zoning ordinances to increase lot width, lot area, and side yard setbacks in the SEOT, NMU, and OS districts, and require a special land use permit for 2-unit dwellings in the EOT and OS districts.
Okay.
So move.
So, second? Anybody got a second?
Second.
Motion by McLaughlin, second by Cummins. And I see something I think is a typo, and I want to discuss it, which is, it says to increase lot width. Okay, that's right. I lied. It's good. Any further discussion by anyone?
This is the final reading, right?
This is the final reading of
We've already discussed it.
of the zoning ordinance that is rolling back some of the previous
Yep.
lot width reductions we'd made to bring them back to the pre-2021 standard. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cummins?
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
And Mayor McNally.
Yes.
The final item you have under new business is item C, consideration by City Council of resolution to approve the new special event application, digitally visual music entertainment, to be held at Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium on Saturdays up to 6 times throughout the summer on the following days: May 11, 21, 28, July 11, 23, and September 10, and allow amplified sound.
Okay. A motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Fritz, second by McLaughlin. I'm hoping Mr. Steward's out here somewhere. Ah, there we go.
Very
Good, because we
Man of
got
the hour.
questions.
I'm sure you do. Great. Good evening.
How are you?
So I guess you wanted a little bit of information about myself and kind of what this event is for. My name is J.C. Stewart. I've been a resident and a veteran here in Grand Haven for the last 21 years. I've enjoyed a lot of the benefits of living in Grand Haven City. And one of the things that I've been working lately is doing a lot of donations and working closely with sponsorships of doing community outreach programs. And more lately, of late actually, I've been working and talking with Shar from the community center here on some of the opportunities I'm doing with the Y. And one of the things that kind of inspired was that conversation with her with regards to trying to advertise and reach out to the community about the community center itself and what it has to offer, the new opportunities that could come to the near future in the next couple of years. And one of the things I looked at is being part of some of the organizations that I am, the Lakeshore Marine Corps League, the American Legion. I also do sponsorships with the Gilmore Collection. I work with Soccer in the Sand. That's been a great community program that's been annually here at the state park. I work with the Michigan State DNR to do certain events, donating my time and services, such as the park that's in Muskegon that they do an annual Hollow Weekend for the kids, and I donate my time and entertainment services for that. And lately I've been working with the Grand Haven 9 and other, like I said, the YMCA for certain community outreach events. So one of the things I wanted to do was actually take that time to donate my services to the Grand Havens area community businesses. The growth that I've seen over the 20 years has been kind of substantial, and I wanted to take the opportunity, like myself, to give back to the community, to make community awareness of the different things that Grand Haven has to offer, such as small businesses, venues, local services for your day-to-day or even things of weddings, private events, etc., such as our state parks, the city parks, etc. So one of the things I was considering to do was bring that, my entertainment, to somewhere in the local area that would be a good community outreach, to reach a lot of folks, a good audience for the community, but also be able to take the businesses and make awareness. And one of the places I thought, being downtown Grand Haven, was the auditorium, the stadium that's on the waterfront. Over the years, I've seen a lot of good ventures come out of there, good reaches, such as church programs, other benefits that other organizations do that reach out pretty good during the summer. So donating my time, looking into having donations of local businesses, I wanted to use a space like that to be able to do some entertainment on a 2 to 3 day basis. I know that there was a lot of dates here. Trust me, I'm not trying to donate or work all those Saturdays, because that is a lot of business that I could do in the summer. But 2 to 3 days, looking to do certain event or themed events. For instance, I would have like a family-oriented entertainment where I would have dance lessons, such as salsa lessons, learning about different types of polka dances, things of that nature, hip-hop dancing from like Spotlight Entertainment and the other local businesses around. Then we would also have like a service and industry. There's a lot of service, hospitality, restaurants, such as wedding venues and things of that nature that Grand Haven, uses for the Lakeshore area, but a lot of people don't know what those services are. So I wanted to take that opportunity for those 2 to 3 days, and as a donation of our time, my time, excuse me, some of the businesses' services that they would donate, like kind of a giveaways, we would do entertainment things of trivia, city trivia, we would do music trivia, we would do movie trivia like from Grand Haven 9. And this would all be donated, so it's not cost, it doesn't cost anybody to do anything, it's just doing the foot traffic. And, excuse me, and basically it's kind of a free event. Again, everything's donated. So the one thing I had was to look at and ask the city council, would they be willing to do a 2 to 3 day donation of that area time because it's a great opportunity, and I don't think those days intervene with major money profitable events, and I just want to be able to use those times. And actually, the 3 days I'm looking at are July 9th, July 23rd, and September 10th.
September 5th?
I'm sorry, September 10th.
10th?
And you said July 9th instead of the 11th that's in here, or?
Yeah, the 11th is a Tuesday, I'm not sure.
Okay.
It doesn't coincide with the Saturday, so.
Gotcha.
Okay, could I ask a couple questions?
Absolutely.
What does an event look like? It looked like you wanted a 4-hour block. Is it a 4-hour event?
It's a 4-hour event, or it could be as long as what the council would allow. Again, I'm not trying to take up revenue that could be generated at this spot, but utilize some times that I've noticed over the years when it is not being utilized. So I wanted to just be able to utilize a 4-hour block and and then the evening time, so that leaves opportunity for other events, church events or others that could utilize the morning, afternoon, or mid-afternoon.
But, all right, so it sounds like one might be a dance-oriented event, right?
Correct. There would be an hour actual lessons, like I would have, if I have a 4-hour event, I would have 2 dance lessons or taught lessons. So an hour of Latin or salsa or some type of cultural dance, and then, excuse me, and then otherwise it would be like a polka or other like hip hop or something in that, like from Spotlight Entertainment. So it's kind of utilizing that and just having, again, kind of give back to the community, just to entertain while there's a lot of traffic down, as you notice, downtown during that time, kind of pulling a little bit of that foot traffic where people are gathered, they can actually entertain and gather down in that area.
And then you spoke about a trivia event.
Yeah, so one of the things I do, for instance, like in our actual corporate events that I work with, other sponsorships such as like the Legion or Marine Corps League, we do like trivia, music trivia. I have a huge video wall that I set up, and we can do like a kind of a trivia where this would actually, if you answer the question correctly, you would get this sponsor donated services for, I guess I should kind of elaborate on that. So some of these donated services, that's how you would give those away. Ask certain city questions. How long has Grand Haven City been here? Or what business has 100 years ago in Grand Haven would that do? So that was kind of what the thing that we would go back and, again, give back to the community.
I wanted to see here and hear what this event was going to look like. I couldn't see it on paper here, but you explained it. What's pretty nice is that you're using local businesses to have them come down and help you along with your event also, like you say, with the Spotlight Dancing and also with the American Legion and stuff on that for different things like that. They can have them come down and give up their things so people understand, they can see what part of their community is and use them there down there, and they might be able to generate business to help our local businesses also on top of it. But it's actually giving entertainment to the people down there. On that July 9th, Shar, is there any conflict with that date? Because that's not on our calendar here. We don't have that date here. We have July 11th and 23rd, and he was saying the 9th.
Misprint for the date.
Because we have a lot of things going on, I just don't want to make sure that it...
That was my misprint on my application.
Yeah. Well, you just told us just now, you said July 9th to us, so that's why I'm looking at this, and I don't see it.
That, yeah, unfortunately, I apologize, that's a Tuesday. Maybe I was looking at June or May and kind of guided myself on the date for that particular Saturday. But these were all Saturday evening events.
That's what I thought.
Do they have to be Saturday events? Because to be honest, the
Fine,
town has
okay.
plenty of action on Saturdays, but on Tuesdays, there's still plenty of people coming through, but maybe it would draw people in on an off night and not overload it.
Exactly. Unfortunately, I do work as an engineer until 6 p.m. at night. So
Okay, then.
this is my kind of hobby business, if you will. It's something I do on the side, but more so I work as an engineer in Holland. So unfortunately, during the weekdays, I'm not able to donate my time.
I just want to say thank you for showing up and telling us all about it, because that's what my main concern was. I just want to visually, when I'm reading it, doesn't see it all, but when you're standing here telling us and explaining how it's going to work, it makes it so much easier for us to understand how this whole thing's going to operate.
And
I'm pretty excited about it.
I agree. Thank you for coming here and explaining, giving us some examples of what you would do, and that, what you're trying to, work with, some of our local vendors to, help promote Grand Haven. So we understand the request more, and we understand why you would like us to perhaps waive some fees here. Is that because he's not making any money himself? This is really he's putting in all his time and effort to coordinate all the businesses.
Yep.
So I understand the request now a lot better, so I appreciate you coming here.
And part of the two, and I understand that it was asked, but I don't need utilities. I'm self-sufficient with my own generators, quiet. I use them for ceremonies. So, and understanding, I understand the utility side of it if necessary, because I don't want to use the city's power or any of that. But again, this is a self-sustaining event. But I'm not trying to, pit $1,000 of money that I will never see back. This again is just me to a community event that I like to do outreach, but also give appreciation for the local businesses. And if it's not, great, I tried. I took a shot in the dark, and I have no problem with a no. So.
Far as generators and inverters and stuff like that, we don't really allow them. That's
And
the whole thing.
I was
So
told that.
That's because once we do one, we have to do a whole bunch more, and
Agreed.
everything else, it's not what we do.
Agreed.
But I'm sure you can get a sponsor to help pay for the small minimal fee of a small electric you can be using, so I'm all for it. So I just wanted to hear more about it and how its operation was, and that I really appreciate it so much.
Absolutely.
have you done any outreach to prospective sponsors?
With the YMCA, Grand Haven 9, Soccer in the Sand, Crumble Cookie, and a few other smaller businesses. But yes, I'm going to, if I have the approval, that's why I don't want any May timeframe. I want to be able to put together an announcement, talk to my resources and contacts that I have in local area businesses, but also go to the new ones, introduce myself, and offer them the opportunity to come down and kind of share that time frame down there in the waterfront.
And the presentation is family-friendly.
Exactly, and again, all my events are family-oriented. Again, Soccer in the Sand, I perform with 20,000 people. Last year was over 16,000 even with COVID. So I'm very understanding of what it is to be a public figure on how to make sure that you have appropriate entertainment for the appropriate event.
You got anything, Ryan?
Nope, nothing further to add. I appreciate your presentation and something a little bit different, some actual lessons, and trivia. That's something a little different use of the space. So I think Shar was going to check on that July 9th date. I don't know.
It's all good.
Okay.
I'm
So-
good. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm good. I'm fine.
So there's a motion on the floor that sounds like, if people are favorably disposed, needs to be amended somewhat, right? So,
Up to 3 times, and then putting in the dates July 9,
23,
23 and
And
September
September
10.
Right.
I think that's how it would need to be amended.
and what time of day are you thinking about doing this?
Again, this is fluid. It is not just necessarily, you know, that particular time.
Daytime, nighttime?
More afternoon and evening time, so we can capture the audience at that time, and then also have vendors that have morning sessions or morning classes or something. They can come out in the afternoon and actually participate and give them the opportunity.
Okay. And it wouldn't run into musical fountain time?
No, no, I think we were talking about being completed by 9 o'clock.
Barb, we got,
So just, a
5
little-
PM to
yeah.
9:30, but by 9 o'clock, amplified sound is down, and then tear down and then remove by 9:30.
okay. Good. So Kelly, have you got the amendment?
Yeah, if you want to, I have it proposed by Councilmember Lowe, and I can read it if that sounds okay to
Yes,
everyone.
that sounds like a good idea.
Consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve the new special event application, Digitally Visual Music Entertainment, to be held at Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium on Saturdays up to 3 times throughout the summer on the following days, July 9, 23, and September 10, to allow amplified sound.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Lowe. Is there support for it?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
There's not, though.
Yeah, there's nothing in there about fee waivers. The Parks and Rec Board recommended not waiving the fees. So tonight, he asked if those fees would be waived or partially waived or waived for some nights, and you guys talked about it, so I don't want to leave that detail hanging out there.
It's a good point.
Char,
The
what
way
are,
it's read, we would not waive the fees.
What's the
Okay.
fee?
Char, what are the fees?
I think it's $750 per evening.
The park rental fee would be $750, and the electricity fee is $175
Per night.
per night.
Per night. So Councilmember Lowe, it's your motion. Do you have do you want to address those issues?
I'm considering a waiving them for this first time around.
I feel like we should, he's donating all of his time in this instance, and we're trying this out until we figure out in a way, I would say, waive it, because
Waive
he
the
doesn't,
park rental?
he isn't making money at this, you know?
Waive the park rental? Okay, I'm gonna point out a
Oh,
couple
the
things
170,
with-
oh,
with
so you're saying
respect.
the
Okay,
750?
I'm gonna point something out with respect, which is I do appreciate you coming in. I think it looks like an interesting thing to do on our waterfront, but he runs a business as a DJ, and this gives him exposure commercially, potentially bringing in clients. So I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm just saying that's part of what's going on. And so the question is, and I'm not against the fee waivers, but the question is, do you waive park rental and electricity?
If I may address the council, I would be more than happy to take a $100 fee for the electricity use each day, totaling $300, just to make good on at least paying for the time for the 4 hours on the stadium, if that would, suffice, and that's out of my own pocket. I'm not gonna ask the local businesses to recover or any of that matter.
I'm good with that.
I'm
Good with that?
I'm good with it too.
I mean, we really have waived everybody's fees
Yes, we
because
have.
we haven't.
For this year, we said we were putting it into the next year, so
It may be different.
I
but-
would think that is more than fair, and I would recommend we include that in the,
Okay, so what's the motion? That's what we have to figure out.
it's as read, and to waive all
Waive
fees
all
other than the one, or do we want to waive all of them?
Waive
or
the
you
park
saying-
fees and the $300 for the $300 he's gonna offer to pay for the electricity. If you wanna do that, he already offered the $300, so
Right.
Yes,
So
so
waive
all
all
fees.
the park fees.
except $100
dollars
per
per
night.
day,
for-
per night, yeah.
Per
For
night for
electricity.
electricity usage.
there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We still got to vote. So we have a motion. Is there I don't remember if there's a second.
Yeah,
Mike,
there's a second.
I second it.
Second, okay. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Cummins,
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
So that's, your amendment's approved, and then you would go on to vote on the motion.
Now you vote on the motion.
So move.
Second. Here we go.
You need,
The motion's already on the
Yes.
table.
It's already on
We
Yes.
voted to, so, which I think was
No, you just gotta vote on it.
and, yeah, so you don't need a second.
Right. So we can vote on that if you're ready to approve it as amended.
We're ready.
we're ready.
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Cummins,
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Great. So that concludes your unfinished business, and you're on to reports by the city council.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Mike, you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. Happened to participate in Arbor Day over there in front of Mr. McGinnis's house. We had such a large contingent of kids. I've never seen that many before at that event when we planted trees. We not only planted one tree, we planted 2 trees because we had so many kids there. We each.
To help?
Oh, yes. It came in, and I was talking with Mrs. Verdine, one of the teachers there, and she was saying that some of these kids, it's the first time they ever rode on a bus, and it was their first time ever going on a field trip. And just to do that, and then also they got to have a hot dog while they were there too, so we served hot dogs and that, and Bucko showed up. Councilman Cummings was here with me, he showed up. I tell you, it was actually a great event to see all those kids down there, and it was a learning thing about trees and what they do, and our staff did a very good job. Earl was there and explaining about trees and asking kids questions on it. It was really good. That was one of the highlights of Friday. It was great.
Nice.
Also, I went to the event that WAWL had over at Baker Lumber, and it was pretty cool there too, because there's tons of people in there, and it was very interesting to sit around and talk with my constituents there. It took me almost 3 hours just to walk down and walk back, and that's not a very big lumber yard. You know, when you get into the barn, you walk back, it took me 3 hours in that.
You were just the most popular guy in Grand Haven.
Man, I tell you, I got my ear bent over and over. But anyways, but also, it was brought to my attention when I was there, was our tower is, WGHN is on there and that, but I hear they're moving their stations out of town. Some of them are moved out, and they're still using our tower, and they're subleasing some of it out. Is that true? Can you check on that? And if there's a chance for us to make more money on that by maybe leasing it out someplace else, we could generate some money on it, because I'm not sure, does WZZM have their cam on there? Or are we getting paid from them? Do they have a camera on there? Are they subleasing that from WGHN, or what the deal is? I don't know. I just heard this through the grapevine when I was there, so I just thought it'd be a big attitude for us. If we want to make some money, it's about time we take a look at that tower and see if we can do something with it. And also, I still noticed that some of the holes where those cable things are, you know, there's still a lot of holes there that need to be filled up, and that I've seen some more. But just want to say thank you to all the guys out there. I do see them out there working, filling potholes. I mean, this is that season. It's just pothole season. We're going to have a ton of them, so thank you guys out there for doing that and working hard. They put a water line in down the street from me, and I tell you what, it's nice to have our guys that are cross-trained, and they can handle all that. From one shift gets done, the second shift comes in and handles right on and finish it all up in a day instead of having to come back 2-3 days. So, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm
Kevin?
good, I'm good.
Karen?
I'm good.
Right. And I have nothing to report, even though it seems like it's been a very busy week. Yeah. And maybe that's why we have nothing to report. All right, city manager?
Yeah, just, I guess 2 things. One is thank you for passing the proclamation tonight about Public Works Week. That means a lot to those guys. Kelly did a really nice job of getting that thing looking sweet, so we're gonna make a big deal over there and present it to the guys, maybe bring in some, donuts. I don't know which they'll like more, the donuts or the fancy proclamation. I gotta.
I can probably answer that for you.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, Mr. Fritz was talking about the Arbor Day event. The one sunny, nice day we've had in about the past 2 weeks, boy, did we get lucky. Because it was nasty leading up to it, and the next couple days was, but that, it's just like the clouds broke, the sun came down, the school bus pulled up, Bucko came running up, the fight song was playing. A lot of fun, so that really worked out well. Thanks for coming, Mike and Ryan. And a couple school board members showed up too, so they were there as well. Along with the principal, walked over from Griffin School. And one class from Griffin School walked over. My daughter's 4th grade class came over, so she got that wrangled out of them. So that's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay. Then I'm going to go to the second call to the audience. At this time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to call in may dial 616-935-3285. If it continues ringing, please remain on the line until your turn. Sir?
Madam Mayor, Council, I was listening to that young lady talking about parking downtown. I couldn't catch everything she was saying. Okay, I've lived all over the country. I've had my car towed in the best cities in the state. Okay, and even South Philadelphia, they had, you know, like the landlords and stuff, they would get a permit from the city or whatever. It's just suggestion, man. I don't care if you do it or not. But they had permits where they would buy it for a year, and it's just a little plastic thing they put in the back window. So if Grand Haven's Finest comes along, they don't give them the ticket. You know, they see they have a little red permit with a number on it, control number or something, and that's it. They can park practically anywhere, within the general area of her residence. And I know she was concerned about that. I would be too. But it's just something from experience, you know, that you might want to consider down the road some. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Oh, I'm Ron Strang from 607 Oak Ridge Court.
Thank you.
In Grand Haven Heights.
All right. The meeting's adjourned.
Now, I'll take it.